For most of my career, most of my life at this point, I've been the youngest. Every room that I walk into, I'm the youngest. At the age of 26, I became the youngest CFO in the state health department's history in Colorado. At the age of 31, I became the youngest vice president in a Fortune 30 company. I've always been the youngest in the room. It was a shame I carried with me in my career, as if people looking at my face couldn't tell that I was young. I would try to hide my age, try to hide that I was young, as if leadership and being good at my job had everything to do with how many times I'd circled around the sun. I wish I knew then what I know now about being the youngest, about being different in a room full of people who don't look like me or don't have the same experience. I wish I had known that leadership has nothing to do with my age, has nothing to do with how good I am at finance even. You all hear the stories about bad bosses. You hear more bad boss stories than you hear good boss stories, and it's because leadership has nothing to do with how good you are at your job, or how young you are, or how much you look like everybody else in a room. Leadership is the sharing of oneself for the benefit of other people. I'm so hopeful about this next generation, and I am here to share with you, you are all leaders, and you can lead from right now. If you share of yourself, you can lead from right now. It's really simple. Leadership is a couple things. Leadership is being willing to know yourself, being willing to know who you want to become, being willing to learn from everything that you experience on the journey from who you are today to who you want to become, and then sharing the heck out of those stories and all of those lessons that you've learned in the journey. I use the word journey really specifically when we talk about leadership. It is a journey. We are all growing and developing and becoming better versions of ourselves if we're intent on doing so every single day. My leadership journey started in a way that most people would never think. At the age of 16, I got pregnant with my son, Kai. Kai will be 17 in July this year. That's not a story one usually hears when you talk about a corporate executive or a top 25 most powerful woman in business. That's not usually the beginning to where I've come in my life. But it's not because getting pregnant at 16 means I wasn't a leader. It was just a part of my journey. It was a part of my journey that after I had my son, I was determined to hide. I was determined to say, I don't want anyone to know this about me. People will not think that I'm a great leader. People will not think I'm good. People won't give me a chance in business if they know that I was a teen mom. It was the stigma I carried with me. Not only was I the youngest in every corporate room I ever walked into, I was the youngest mom at school. I didn't fit in. I didn't know how to talk to people. I always felt like folks were judging me. And because I was different, I thought, well, then I must not be a good leader. I got my first CFO job when I was 26, and I just failed miserably at it for the first 6 months. Because I had convinced myself and talked myself into the fact that I wasn't a great leader. Not me, not with my story. So I was going to go do leadership like I saw everybody else do it. Like the bosses I'd had before me. I'm going to do it the way they did it, even if I didn't like them. I was copying things that had nothing to do with my authentic self. Nothing to do with the story that I was hiding behind. I knew people could do the math, and I knew people knew that I had this precious, precious little boy, but I just hid all that that had taught me, all that had propelled me from that moment in my life that I hadn't planned for. I was failing miserably for 6 months. I mean, it was really, really bad. I would work 15-hour days, First thing in leadership, if you're working 15, 16-hour days and you have a whole team of people under you, you're probably not being a great leader. I was going home and trying to do everything myself still. I was being bossy, and I was being a dictator and telling people what to do and telling them how to do it, and I was saying, do it my way. And then I was going home so insecure because I had no idea if my way was even the right way. I was so scared of failure and so insecure about who I was as a leader because I had never thought about any of the moments that had gotten me that title as being leadership. That's what we do in this country. We take a title and we say, now you're a leader. You've got this big fancy title and you have these people under you on an org chart and now you're a leader. So 10 years after I had a child that I had managed to get from 0 to 10, my title is what made me think it was time to lead. For all of you in this room, I hope you leave today after this conversation we're having and throw that out. I became a leader long before I even got pregnant with my son. Because the fact that I was strong enough to make a decision for myself about having my son, or going back to high school, or deciding that I was going to go to college still, or deciding that people weren't going to make me a statistic or be right about me, that was leadership. That was understanding that there was something inside of me that could get me over this. Now when I lead, I think, hey, I've already been through some really tough stuff in my life. At work, they say, oh, you're so laid back. I'm not a laid back person, actually. It is not my personality. I'm actually quite passionate and I'm always on go. And I was like, why do they think I'm laid back? My parents would ask, why do they think you're laid back? That's real, not real about you at all. They think I'm laid back because what I have been through is so much bigger than what I'll ever experience in the corporate environment. We miss a forecast? Okay, I'll never be 16 and pregnant again. It's all good. Everyone sitting in this room, no matter how old you are, has that story. You have already overcome something really, really difficult. You've already overcome something that the second you overcame it, you stopped giving yourself credit for how strong you are and you moved on to the next thing. You didn't look back and say, oh, I'm kind of a badass. I already overcame this really hard thing, the thing that you thought would be the end of you, the thing that you were sitting in the middle of it and you didn't know how you were going to get through it. That's how I felt when I was 16 and pregnant. And somehow, I found the grit. Sometimes it was just pure stubbornness and I just didn't want people to be right about me, and that's okay. And sometimes it was pure joy, because being a parent is joyful. Whatever it was that I had to summon in the moments where I was scared and afraid, I summoned it. That's leadership. And when I really became a leader was the day that I walked in to the state health department as a 26-year-old CFO. I had a team of people working for me who had worked there longer than I'd been alive. Most of them had kids my age. And I walked in there and I said, I'm messing this up. I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help. Oh, and by the way, I just want to tell you guys, I was a teen mom, so I'm really defensive about my age. And they looked at me and they said, well, first they said, thank God you said you were messing this up. Somebody had to say it, that's very true. And then they said, we got you. And it was the moment where I was pretty sure I was going to get fired anyway, so I just decided to go down being myself, where I found the journey had brought me to leadership. And then leadership became the job. I want everyone, no matter how old you are, to think of yourself as a leader and start leading from now. Start thinking about the hardest thing that you have overcome in your life. What is it in you that got you through that? Give yourself credit. Are you smart? Are you tough? Are you laid back? Are you resilient? And then give yourself credit for the fact that you experienced every emotion along the way. Stop hiding from that. People are always like, Danielle, do you get scared? I'm scared all the time. I didn't sleep last night. I knew I had to get on this stage. I'm scared all the time. I just didn't let my fear stop me. I'm sad and I'm angry and I'm frustrated and I'm doubtful and I'm still incredibly insecure. You can slap whatever titles or awards on me that you want. And I'll still want to be a better version of myself tomorrow. But I learned that leadership was giving myself credit for what I have overcome and then sharing those stories as if every person I ever wanted to meet needed to hear it. What is the thing that somebody needs to hear from you? Do they need to hear that you were bullied? Do they need to hear that you were scared? Do they need to hear that you go into a room and you have a big title and you just feel lonely? Do they need to hear that you don't have anything figured out yet? Ask me what I want to be doing in 5 years and I can't answer the question. I'm not sure. Because all those years ago, I wanted to graduate from college and not be on government assistance. That was the goal. And it made the rest of the stuff I've accomplished less scary. Because at the end of the day, I was taking care of my son on my own. And if you set your goals that way, in those pieces and in those little parts of life, the journey will not feel so overwhelming. And you'll learn to be really, really, really grateful for anything that you accomplish beyond what you even thought you could. And that starts way younger than we give anyone credit for. That starts with all of us, at every age. Because at any age, you can look at your journey and say, I've overcome. And now I'm going to share what I've overcome. And I'm going to lead from now. From this moment. I can decide to do good with a mistake I may have made. Mistakes only hurt us if you never learn anything about yourself from them. Leadership is knowing oneself. Knowing who you want to be in this world, not what you want to do. We always ask young people, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would much rather you spend your energy thinking about who do you want to be in this world when you grow up. I never knew that I wanted to be a CFO. I knew I wanted to go into business. I didn't know if I wanted to be a CFO. I didn't know that detail. But I know I want to be a coach. And I know that I want to give back. And I know that I want to share of myself. And I know that I want to motivate other people. And knowing who I want to be in this world and not what I want to do has helped me choose what I want to do. Spend your time thinking about that as you go off into the world and lead. Because if you are being who you wanted to be, you will be a phenomenal leader. And people will follow you anywhere. Because you're living in your purpose. Leadership is the sharing of oneself for others. If you can't figure out what part of your story that you need to be sharing, it's the part of your story you're the most ashamed of. That's the thing that the rest of the world needs to hear. It's the thing you regret, or that you wish had gone a little different, or that you would have never planned for yourself, but somehow turned out phenomenal. When we hide behind those things, we can never be our true leader selves. So start in this very moment Lead from now. Share from now. Give yourself credit for what you have overcome. And then tell somebody about it so that maybe they don't have to have it quite as hard.